Thank you, everyone, for joining us again for another day of revolution for the 21st century. It's my honor and pleasure to join Kim Bradshaw as my co-host, who's going to be working with me and hopefully on camera some at least, but certainly behind the scenes with a little monitoring of the cues and the questions and the answers and so on. So I have two esteemed guests, one of whom, if you've been around, you've seen quite a bit of and more to come, and that's Roger Hallam, the one who cooked up this scheme for revolution, and much to my delight. And we're going to be joined by Dr. Peter Carter, who is the founder of the Climate Emergency Institute, which has been around since the very early days, actually, the most recent movement on environmental and climate matters. So if you have the video ready to go, hang on for that, but let's bring Roger in, and then Peter, and then we'll do the video. Hello, Roger. You're muted, I think.
Yeah, I'm unmuted now. That's good. Yeah, hello everyone. Back again.
Yeah. So everybody
Right.
knows
So,
you.
are we going to share the video? Yeah.
We're going to have a video very shortly. Peter's also in the room, right? Peter, thank you for being here. If you want to say a couple of words, we'll go straight to your video. If you'll just kind of give us a hello.
Hello, everybody. So, this is Peter Carter in beautiful Victoria, British Columbia, Canada. And hi, Roger. It's good to see you and be with you again. And thanks, everybody, for your great initiative in putting this conference on.
All right. You're most welcome. Honored to have you both. Okay. We have Dr. Carter has graciously prepared a video from the scientific depth of perspective that he's had on this whole crisis that we're facing. So, Alex, if you'll tee off that video, we'll enjoy it. We'll come back for conversation between Peter and Roger about what's in this video.
My name is Dr. Peter Carter. I'm director of the Climate Emergency Institute, and I'm glad to be given the opportunity to provide some reasons for revolution in the 21st century. As I see it, the world is being run, driven to destruction by fossil fuel fascism and its axis of life-annihilating evil. With respect to fascism, the founder was Mussolini, and he described fascism as follows. Fascism should more properly be called corporatism, because it is a merger of state and corporate power for the exercise of power. And that has never been more true than today, with what I'm calling the axis of fossil fuel evil. Three components: big fossil fuel corporations, big economy governments, and big corporate banks. It's well known that the big oil and gas corporations are making record profits. The IMF has advised us that our governments are subsidizing the fossil fuel industry to the tune now of $7 trillion a year. The IMF has followed the increase in these subsidies. Thanks to NGOs in BankTrack, we know that financing the fossil fuel industry in record amounts, which amounts now to almost $7 trillion over the past 8 years, the signing of the Paris Agreement. What is not well known is the so-called investor-state dispute settlement mechanism contrived years ago by governments and corporations, which allows corporations to, in effect, sue governments. The corporate tribunal enabled the big polluters to attack climate change measures and policy that could reduce their profits, and they've already done so with respect to the fossil fuel industry and climate change. And, of course, the fossil fuel-funded climate change denial campaign continues as it was started back around 1990. It continues to this day. Hence, the extraction of fossil fuels continues to increase, the burning of fossil fuels continues to increase, and the atmospheric concentrations of CO2 and methane continue to increase. The question from this conference, and I really appreciate this conference happening, all the governments should be having national public reviews every year on global climate change. The question, where are we in the world at the moment? Of course, the question is, where are today's children? Where are they going to be? And you see the image that I put up there, the inherent rights of the child to a livable future. Now, the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, just on the 5th of June, gave a special speech. We stand at a moment of truth, he said. We need an exit ramp off the highway to climate hell. And yes, this is the term that I've used in my post for quite some time. That's exactly what it is. But it's our children that need us to get off this climate hell scenario. So the truth is, from the science, is that everything continues to get worse faster. I've been presenting this for many, many years, and particularly for our children. So some points. All the climate change indicators, the direct causes and effects of climate change, are record high, and they're increasing as fast and faster. The WMO in March of this year had its State of the Climate report in 2023, in which for the very first time the WMO declared a climate code red situation for the world. Global temperature and atmospheric CO2 are increasing faster than ever. CO2 is far beyond our hominid ancestors, and the temperature is far beyond the agricultural period. Global emissions are record high and increasing. This is right up to date. This is from the Statistical World Energy Review, just published June 2024. All fossil fuel production and consumption right up to this date, so combustion of fossil fuels, are record high. Fossil fuel subsidies are record high and increasing. All plans are to keep things this way. Fossil fueled business as usual. Finally, I'll say that despite what the scientists say, 1.5 degrees C will be around 2030, as the IPCC said, and 2 degrees C will be by 2050. Of these points I have made, there is no force or influence opposing this situation. And so, indeed, it's revolution time. I will be explaining how we've been bamboozled, we've been deceived and lied to about the percentage of clean renewables in global energy. We've been given the impression that the increase in renewable energy is solving the emergency situation. I'm afraid nothing could be further from the truth. The truth is, from the Energy Review, that the 2023 emissions were at a record high. That's emissions from energy. The fact of the situation is that the 2023 emissions, greenhouse gas emissions, were record high from energy. That's from the Statistical Energy Review. And for the first time, greenhouse gas emissions exceeded 40 billion tons for the very first time. So we have fossil fuel emissions that constitute 87% of all greenhouse gas emissions from human activities. And then they've also included industry and methane in this. I put this little reminder of the record. I put in this little reminder of the record level of CO2 emissions, which is from the International Energy Agency. And therefore, atmospheric carbon dioxide is increasing faster than ever. This is from the NOAA special report of the 6th of June this year. During a year of extremes, carbon dioxide levels surge faster than ever. Atmospheric CO2 has never increased as fast as it is right now. Also, global warming is increasing faster than ever. This is from the 5th of June 2024 report of the expert update of climate change indicators, in which they report that human-induced warming has been increasing at a rate that is unprecedented. Global temperatures are still heading in the wrong direction and faster than ever. In fact, the 2023 big record temperature increase puts global warming tracking the very worst case scenario, which you see in front of you here. And so, yeah, for sure, we will be at 1.5 degrees C around 2030, if not before, and 2 degrees C by 2050. 1.5 degrees C is globally disastrous. We knew that from the IPCC 1.5 C report in 2018, and 2 degrees C has always been recognized as globally catastrophic. This is an evil that's been known about for decades. The IPCC assessment published this map you see here and stated that over 3.3 billion people live in countries classified as very highly and highly vulnerable. Over 3 billion people. They will be the first to go. Look at Africa. Look at the continent of Africa. No wonder some years ago it was stated that global climate change was genocide in Africa. This is what we're looking at in the future, continued increase in emissions, although emissions have to be declining now on an immediate rapid basis. So here's Exxon's energy outlook to 2050. It's rather conservative, actually. They estimate that CO2 emissions will be 75% of today, hardly reduced at all. And that's a totally unlivable outlook because the IPCC has said that emissions have to be near zero. So back to the question then, where are we in the world at the moment? The world's agenda is very, very clear now. The agenda is committed catastrophic climate change because the agenda continues to be to deny and ignore the dire climate emergency, to continue on with fossil-fueled business as usual, and an attitude of to hell with the future. So we have the evil effects of fossil fuel air pollution, and all the ingredients of fossil fuel air pollution are increased by global warming. So fossil fuel burning is causing deadly air pollution and at the same time is increasing air pollution in the future. And so, as I mentioned, the most recent estimate is that 10.2 million people are killed by fossil fuel specific air pollution every year. So, as I've stated, the IPCC has stated in no uncertain terms that global emissions have to decline immediately and rapidly. And that's the recent sixth assessment. Now, back in 2019, the IPCC has been stating this for at least 5 years. Here's a statement by IPCC Chair Hassan Lee at the 25th United Nations Conference at Madrid. For climate stabilization, he said, emissions must peak next year. Next year at that time being 2020. And then at the 26th conference at Glasgow in 2021, IPCC Chair Lee stated, global warming of 1.5 degrees C and 2 degrees C will be exceeded during this century unless immediate, rapid, and large-scale reductions in greenhouse gas emissions occur. Now, you won't have heard of this because none of the media carried it, and it's not being repeated, even by the scientists. And so, yes, the most recent climate conference, COP28, November 2023, the new chair of the IPCC, Jim Ski, stated, without immediate and deep emissions reductions across all sectors, we will not meet the goals of the Paris Agreement. So here we have everybody to this day saying, don't worry, we can still meet the Paris Agreement. Absolute nonsense. And there's no prospect of immediate decline on emissions because it's not being called for. So this is an image that I do every few years. It's a composite of all of the climate change indicators, and as you see, they're all increasing and increasing at an accelerating rate. They take off around 1940. And now we have the data from the Statistical Energy Review that 2023 fossil fuel energy production and consumption are record highs. And this composite, the final year is 2023. And this reflects, of course, what the WMO reported in March of this year, 2024. Now, I'm just going to show you this. This was my response to the spurious, misleading claim by climate experts that global warming can still be limited to 1.5 degrees C. And so I gave the evidence and the science of, first of all, increasing energy from fossil fuels, increasing emissions of CO2 from fossil fuels, increasing atmospheric greenhouse gas concentrations from the burning of fossil fuels, and then to radiative forcing, and then to Earth energy imbalance, and finally to record 2023 global warming, followed by record global warming of this spring. Global temperature increase was 1.57 degrees C. And so in this little presentation, I reminded that the last 12 months were consecutive record temperature increases, and the last 11 months consecutively were at or above, mainly above, 1.5 degrees. And for those experts, yes, Earth energy imbalance doubled from 2000 to 2000. And then now I'm showing you the situation of the most recent situation, March, April, and May 2024, compared to pre-industrial. This was a record global average temperature increase of 1.58 degrees C. And in the northern hemisphere, which I'm showing, the increase was 2 degrees C. And so you can see the northern hemisphere, the maximum heating, and also the maximum heating in the Arctic, Siberia, Canada, where the permafrost, of course, is situated. And you can see this huge area of cooling below the Greenland ice sheet. And that's, of course, for those experts, that's AMOC. But also, please note the unprecedented sea surface temperature. I have never seen a NASA GIS temperature map like this. Now I'm going to present the evidence of the ice cores. As you'll know, global temperature changes in lockstep with atmospheric CO2 and methane. And this is 400,000 years of the ice cores. And you'll see that today, methane has soared up to this level. It's increased 160% from pre-industrial. CO2 has soared up to this level, 50% increase. And here, consequently, is the temperature increase. We have to do everything humanly possible to stop this situation. To put this situation into context, here we have the Scripps Institute record of atmospheric CO2 going back over the past 10,000 years. And it shows the unprecedented abrupt increase following industrialization, fossil fuel industrialization of CO2. There it is, shoots straight up. It is today the highest in 14 million years. The latest daily recording from Scripps is a record 427, the highest it has ever been. Thus, their daily record. On the seasonally adjusted mean, it's reached 422.58. The lines I've drawn here show the pre-industrial CO2 of 278. It shows 300 parts per million as the maximum CO2 has reached over the past 800,000 year ice core record. It's never been above 300. And there you have 350 parts per million, the long-term danger limit, as published by James Hansen many years ago and recently confirmed by the Science of Earth Energy Imbalance. The team confirmed that 350 parts per million is the danger limit over the long term of atmospheric CO2. Now, atmospheric CO2 is now at a 14 million year high. And this refers to the science of that. And also the record from the IPCC 6 assessment, in which you can see that atmospheric CO2 is at a 14 million year high. This is also from the IPCC 6 assessment. This is a record of atmospheric CO2 over 60 million years. And this shows that the rate of increase of atmospheric CO2 is unprecedented in the past 56 million years. That's the rate of increase of CO2 produced by constant burning of fossil fuels. This is a temperature record from the IPCC 6 assessment. And the scientists confirmed the indication from this IPCC record that the 2023 global temperature record was the highest in over 125,000 years. And that's because atmospheric CO2 is over 422 parts per million. So this is our agricultural era of 10,000 years. And today we have it reported just recently, June of this year, that 2023 was a record high in coal, oil, and gas production. And this goes from 1990. See how the production of fossil fuels absolutely soars, increases at an accelerating rate. And there's the update on oil, and there's the update on coal, and there's the update on gas. So they're all at record highs. And this shows the record from 1900. So you can see how the production of coal, gas, and oil increases from 1940. It takes off, and then further rapid increases. So the impression is still getting around that the coal problem has been solved, that we don't have to worry about coal. No, the data says that coal production and consumption is at a record. And so this is from a 2024 report of what they call total hard coal production. And you can see it's never been higher, and it is on the increase. So here is that very recent Energy Institute statistical review of world energy, June of this year. And there you see that 2023, they say, saw a second consecutive record year for global primary energy consumption, and it grew by 2%, which is a massive increase. And so you see the breakdown here, and also displayed in a graphic manner here. And so wind and solar, with respect to total energy, yes, they've been increasing greatly, but way not enough, because they only provide 8% of total energy consumption. Fossil fuels is at 84%, very little difference at all. So here's the fossil fuel energy starting in 2000 and right up here to 2023. And so from that same report, here's the situation on global coal consumption. 2023 was a big record on world coal consumption and production. A big increase of 1.6% over 2022. So here's the situation with world electricity production from that same report of 2023. So note, please, this is only electricity, not total world energy that we've just been looking at. And the report says that fossil fuels contributed 60% of total global electricity in 2023. Coal generated 35%. Coal is way the biggest source of electrical energy. And so there it is. There's coal. It's at 35%. There's wind and solar. They're at 13.4% on electricity. And so here's where we're at with regards to the record greenhouse gas emissions from energy of last year from this report. Fossil fuel combustion emissions are 87% of total human source emissions. And so to my final slide. This is all about our children. Global climate change is all about the world's children and their future. And their future is declining as our emissions are increasing. So this is her global heating future. And worse, if emissions are not put into decline immediately and rapidly, like the IPCC has told us. And so, in conclusion, don't tell the children, don't worry the children, revolt for them. Revolt for your children. Revolt for the world's children.
I expected shock and awe. I didn't expect these tears. Never mind. You guys go ahead. I obviously need to recompose. Please.
Yeah, well, Terry, you got it. Yeah.
Well, let's just take a minute. Let's take a minute out and then we'll start.
I have a millennial daughter and 3 grandkids by her. God, this makes me furious. I've talked about being in this rage of grief for a decade. This is what it looks like. I'm sorry. And hand in glove with that rage of grief is an agony of futility, because these bastards won't get out of the fucking way. And they render us so absolutely powerless. Yes, revolution.
I should say, Terry, that this is totally what's missing here. You know, we've got cold science, cold numbers, climate change models, but we don't have a heart connection here, right? Our science says it doesn't allow that.
That's what logical positivism and value-free scientism get us. I mean, I'm sorry, those are obscure terms. I don't mean to use them. But that's what we bought by letting the scientific community take over without bringing values and heart and ethics into it.
Yeah. No, that's not in it.
The only thing that's in it's greed. Plain and simple.
Anyway, we have some great